If you're like a lot of companies, the C-suite is your holy grail. It's the one spot in the organization that you need to attract, engage, and convert in order to make a sale. If that sounds like your company, sounds like something you need, then stick around today because we're going to talk about that because marketing matters. Hello, my name is Bill Arnold. I'm president of Prevail Marketing. You may find us at prevailmarketing.com every single day. We deliver to you a video on how to grow your business through better sales and marketing. These are techniques and strategy suggestions, things that we have done for our clients recently that have proven highly effective. We're sharing with you, and we just ask one thing in return. Please like and subscribe. Well, actually, three things. That's two things. Let's add one more. Please go to prevailmarketing.com and check us out. With that, let's talk about this. All too often a business is frustrated because of things outside their control. You can't control the economy. You can't control your competitors. You can't control marketing trends. And maybe you're frustrated because you just can't seem to reach that C-suite. You've tried earned media, you tried PR, you tried all sorts of things, but you're still frustrated. You're just not getting that connection. You tried account-based marketing, or tried a lot of different things. And I should tell you, we have a whole series of things that you should try and should incorporate in order to reach the C-suite on our website. If you haven't sought those out, go check them out. But let's talk about things you can control that are absolutely positively in your control. Your owned media. Owned media? What's owned media? Well, you know what it is. Owned media is any digital property or marketing channel that a company exercises complete dominion over. Your blog, your branded website, YouTube channel, what you post on social media. You control those. Nobody else does. You're responsible for developing them, distribute them, and the results that come from them. And honestly, the foundation of any marketing, I don't care what it is, who it is owned media. We're going to specifically dictate this to the C-suite, but what we're talking about applies to whomever you're marketing for in many respects. So we're going to first talk about how to create owned media. And I also want to say this, that there's a few precursory steps before you start creating anything. I'm sure you've known, I'm sure you heard me, I've said this ad nauseum, probably sick of me saying it. But you need to do a discovery and assessment process. You need to understand the industry, your competitors, where your place in that industry, the things you are doing that are contributing to success, not contributing to success, and who your buyer personas are. You need to understand what information, what messaging they need to see at each stage of that buyer's journey in order to make and navigate down to the next. You need to know where they go for information, education, third-party verification, and entertainment. You need to know where to place this information. So all that has to be done before. If you don't know how to do that, we have it on our website. We can help you do it. There's a process, and the process must be followed. Why? Like anything else, it's the process and the people that are going to get you success. I've seen a lot of people claim they've done buyer personas, claim they've done discovery and assessment process, and honestly, it's sad. It really is, because they have no hope, zero hope for success to start out. But let's say you've done that. Let's say you've done all that homework. You now have the ability to start creating content. What do you need to do to get that content seen and heard? Let's talk about all the elements. First, it must be credible. It must speak the truth. It must be presented and sourced from something that is absolutely verifiable. Use statistics, use numbers, use facts from third-party sources that are trustworthy, that the C-suite will respect. Because even though you create it, you have to morph it and modify it and adjust it so there is not just me saying it, but third-party sources are verifying the truth of what I'm saying. That's important because you want them to believe you, and the least credible things that are said are things you say about yourself. So you have to change that scenario with your own media, and that's how you do it. Incorporate third parties. I always tell my clients, always, if you don't believe or you're not sure of something I'm saying, question me on it. Ask me to prove it. I will always have third-party data to back up what I'm saying. Why? Because we never guess. Guessing always gets you wrong in marketing. You will fail if you guess. You have to base it on facts. You have to base it on trends. You have to base it on metrics, on KPIs. So make sure it's credible. Make sure it's unique. I mean, oh, I can't tell you. You know, it has to be unique. It has to be, you can't pull something verbatim from somebody else. It has to be unique content. And it has to be content that is touching at the soul, the heart. Yes, you want to take the mind, and that's 30% of your content, the facts that we just talked about, need to be baked in there. But 70% of that has to hit at the heart, the emotion. That makes it more memorable, and that's what sells. Storytelling. So make it unique. Be a storyteller. Can craft a scenario, craft a story that not only pulls in all the facts, but takes them on a journey. They'll remember you. Relevant. Oh my God, absolutely relevant. What part of that do I have to explain? If it's not relevant to me in the C-suite, if it's not relevant to my pain point, interests, and concerns, then it doesn't matter to me. I don't care how great the content is. If there's no relevancy, it doesn't matter. Valuable. Okay, what do I mean by valuable? You know, there's a lot of things the C-suite, particularly the CEO, are concerned about. There's no question. I can go through a litany of things. In fact, C-suite CEO is concerned about all of them. But the underlying thing that you need to convince them of, that whatever you're selling them, whatever product, service, or solution you're selling them, it's going to contribute, it's going to have a return on investment and contribute to the bottom line. So it has to be valuable to them. It has to do something that boosts their business in some form or fashion, that they can see how it's going to benefit them. And sometimes it may be obvious to you, but it may not be obvious to them. You'd be amazed how many times that I'm having conversation, I think, well, maybe I better go back and explain the basics. I don't want them to think I think they're dumb, but maybe they just haven't been exposed to it. And often, more often than not, I hear back, I'm glad you explained that. I wasn't making that connection. So make it valuable, explain it, be engaging. Okay, it's sort of like, think about it. Has to be entertaining. Has to be something that compels them to keep reading. Again, that goes back to storytelling, doesn't it? I mean, it has to be an engaging story that's easy for them to digest. If you do that, they're going to have enthusiasm to move forward with you. So incorporate things like imagery, video. Think about it from the standpoint of, I'm writing a novel. Of course, you're not going to be novel length. I'm writing a short story maybe. What can I put in this short story that's going to keep them engaged? Get them to buy in. Think about it that way when you write these things. And distributing the content. I always say people, if you create it, they will not come. They said, what do you mean by that? I said, you can create the best content. You can have the best website that absolutely, from every standpoint, everyone looks at it and says, oh my God, every aspect is done perfectly. And you can do that. And if you create it that way, they will not come. You have to go out and invite people back to your website. You have to go send invitations where they go for information, education, entertainment, third-party verification. You have to go out and say, hey, come over here. I've got something you might be interesting to you. So distribute that content across where they go. And that you learn from your discovery and assessment process. Now I want to give you some practical advice. These are some general themes I've just talked about. Let's talk about practical application of what we just talked about. One of the things that I always convince clients, not early stage clients, not startups, because they can't afford it and they don't have the content to support it. But anybody who's reached that intermediate stage, I always try to convince them to take their website and make it contextualized. So it is a contextualized storytelling. They look at me, what? What do you mean contextualized? Well, we have a ability right now that once we identify your buyer persona, where you are in that buyer journey, that the entire website can morph, can switch, and everything about that website, every piece of content, every piece of information, every word, every messaging, every imagery, every video, every blog is geared towards you. And if someone else from your organization, who maybe that's a middle management CEO comes, has a different buyer persona, and once we identify that, that website will morph to what they need to see. How powerful is that? that when someone comes to your website, they see the content that's totally relevant to their pain points, interests, or concerns, and where they are on that buyer's journey. Now, this technology requires you to do this. And what happens when you come to the site and you don't know it yet? Very simple. They see the generic site. They see the site that is all encompassing. Now, they can always go back to that if they want to see it. But when they come to that site initially, they'll see a generic site. And once they make identification, maybe their title we learn, maybe the let's say some people have different industries. And so once we know the industry, let's say you have architects and lawyers and accountants as your targeted industries. Once we identify you're a lawyer, the other two go away. You don't even know we represent them or work for them or support them in any shape, way, or form. You just know we represent lawyers. If you're an engineer, the same thing. Think about the power of that. You can have a website built to do that. What does it take? It takes having a lot of content, no question about it, because you have to support that. And it takes time, a little bit of money to develop it, but the payoff, the return on investments are huge. Your brand ecosystem, let's talk about that for a moment for practical advice. You know, here at Prevail Marketing, we create a blog a day, a long form blog every single day. And is that best practices? Well, it is what we're trying to accomplish, but most people don't have the resources to do that. And when I tell them they have to create a long form blog every day, they just shut down and close off. But I will tell you, that doesn't have to be 30 or 31 or 28 blogs, whatever the month is. If you do 11 to 6, 11, actually, 11 blogs get you most bang for the buck. Yeah. I mean, there's incremental improvements when you get to 16. So 16 ideally, I guess, is ideal one. But if you go without 11, you're not giving up much. As long as they're relevant content and long-form blogs. Long-form blogs, typically anywhere between 1,500 and 2,500 words. You do not want to go beyond 2,500 words. You don't want to go less than 1,500. Why? Well, if you go less than 1,500, significantly less, maybe 700, 800 words, Google starts seeing that a little spammy. You're just getting content out that doesn't have any real value. What value can you actually put out in 800 words? Not a lot. If you get to past 2,500 words, people start dropping off, and they aren't going to read that. So keep it in that range, and it'll be relevant, and it'll work for you. Now, how to disseminate all this content you're creating? I talked about you have to go where people go for information, education, third-party verification. Let's talk about disseminating that content. Because the dissemination of the content and the creation of the content cannot be separated. Targeted newsletters, okay? 60% of executives read an email newsletter every day when they first get into the office. So start creating email newsletter directed to your targeted personas. Social media. I always tell people, and I literally talked to an agency owner this past year who says, C-suite, B2B, they don't pay attention to social media. Wow. At that moment, I knew I didn't want to be associated with that group because they just didn't get it. They didn't understand the value, the significance, the impact that social media has. If you don't believe me, I got other blogs and videos that talk about it. Go see them. I'm not going to belabor that. But all your content should be shared on social media. Snippets and links to full aspects of it. Live speaking engagements. If you're not out in the real world, speaking at conferences, speaking at groups, speaking in front of organizations, then you're missing out on communicating the value of what you have. Content syndication, identify authoritarian magazines, blog syndications, and post it there. Again, it lifts you more. It gives you some additional verification and trustworthiness. Of course, paid demand. How I use paid demand? Retargeting. I use it for, if I got a great piece of content then great organically, I will put some money behind it to push it, get more eyes on it, but I make sure it's got great reach organically first. I don't want to waste my money. Retargeting is the other way, of course, you can do. I've already mentioned that. Email nurturing campaigns. We're going to do a whole series of email nurturing campaigns. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. I'm running out of time anyhow. But these are ways to distribute this. If you want to reach the C-suite, actually anybody, you need to have owned media that fills these requirements. If you do, it will take time, 3, 4, 5, 6 months of concentrated effort. But when you hit these thresholds, it's not like, then it'll look like you flipped a switch. Nothing happens up to then, or very little. But when you hit there, something happens magical. It's like people saying I was an overnight success. Nobody saw the work that went into the overnight success. Same here. You be an overnight success, and nobody have seen all the work you put in. Well, they will have seen it, but they won't appreciate it until start doing that. The conglomerate of all that gets together and makes all the difference. Again, I thank you for your time. I appreciate you joining us on this channel. If we can help you, give us a call, but always like and subscribe. Have a good night.